Hello, welcome to Between the Spreadsheets. I'm Stephen Englander as always, and today I've got with me Nick Buckley, who is running for mayor in the next elections. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you'll have to forgive me because I don't quite know what a mayor does. I know they wear these red costumes with medallions.
That's a different mayor.
Oh, right.
So I'm running for the mayor of Greater Manchester. So
Okay.
Greater Manchester consists of 10 boroughs.
Yeah.
So Wigan, Salford and Manchester, and there's 10 of them. Each one of them has a ceremonial mayor. That's the one with the red and the chain of office, and usually in a limo or something like that.
That's the type of thing I'd like.
Yes, me too. So that's a ceremonial mayor. 6 years ago, they created a new post in Greater Manchester called the Mayor of Greater Manchester.
Okay.
A Metro Mayor.
Yeah.
So so it's not ceremonial power, they have real power and influence.
Oh, right.
So the Mayor of Greater Manchester is in charge of Greater Manchester Police,
Right.
the NHS,
Right.
probation, fire service.
So it really is an influential role.
It's a very influential role. So at the moment it's Andy Burnham. So
Okay.
he's a senior politician,
Yeah.
career politician. It's his post and he's running again for it.
And you're after that.
So I'm standing against Andy Burnham and the Labour Party to be Mayor of Greater
And
Manchester.
when are the elections?
Elections are in 6 weeks' time, which is the
Okay.
6th of May,
Okay. And where do you go to vote?
in your local polling station. So
It's funny, isn't it? For years, I've never even noticed these types of elections. I think elections. I think a national political party. I don't think
because
of
the elections are local, so it's not a parliament election.
Right.
It's going to be local councils and the mayors in a couple of cities.
Right.
So because it's the local, it doesn't get the press attention it would
Right.
normally get. And let's be honest, COVID at the moment is all-consuming.
Yeah.
So most people don't even know there's elections
And
coming.
how often are these elections?
The mayor post is every 5 years.
Okay. So it's interesting because I when I'm looking for staff with Accounts Direct and especially our consulting team, we joke that nobody gets to work with us unless they're sort of over 40. It's over 50 now, but okay, over 40. They'll still be over 60, but over 40. They've been skint at least once and they've been divorced at least once, because we feel that you don't have the life experience to really know what you're doing. But you have a similar mentality, don't you? Because you unlike a lot of people in the world that you're heading for, you don't come from a silver spoon. You weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and you've gone out there and you've created headway for yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've come from, you'd call it a tough background. I don't call it a tough background. I just called it my background. That's all I was used to.
Yeah.
So council estate in South Manchester, single parent household, went to a failing school, grew up in poverty. But at the time, I didn't know it was poverty. It's just my life and my friends' lives. Left school, went to college, then had a place at university, but didn't go. Decided I didn't want to go to university.
Went to School of Life.
Yes. So I went travelling, and then I set a business up working on the markets.
Right. So that's always interesting, because I don't think you actually ever really understand life until you've had a business.
Yes.
I mean, at least a commercial life.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
So I started off on different markets in Greater Manchester.
Right.
I started off selling women's nightwear, so
Okay.
nighties.
Yeah.
And then I moved into children's clothes.
Okay.
And then at the end, I was selling handbags and luggage.
Right. It's handbag. My family were in the handbag and luggage business.
Right.
So I used to wholesale, and that's how I started off, with handbags and luggage, making them and then selling them door to door, and then all. So when I say door to, I mean shops. I used to go around to shops to sell in bulk. So that's interesting. So what did you do from the markets then?
Say that again, sorry.
Where did you go from the markets?
So from the markets, I then went into a little bit of wholesaling.
Right.
So I was teamed up with somebody who was importing from China.
Right.
And because they were importing lots, I could get the same price they were importing them for to make me competitive.
Right.
Did that for a couple of years. And then I went travelling again.
Right.
I love backpacking, love seeing different countries.
Yeah.
And then I came back to the UK, and I got a job at BMI Airline at Manchester Airport.
From wholesaling to loading luggage, from selling luggage to loading luggage.
I was started off checking people in, so I'd be the person who'd take your tickets and take your luggage off you.
Okay.
And then at the end, I was dispatching aircraft, so I was the crazy person you see on TV with the radio, screaming, shouting, trying to get planes off on time.
What did you wholesale?
Again, that was luggage.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You were based in Manchester with that, in Cheetham?
Yes.
That's where the cash and carries are.
Yeah, so I was trying to wholesale to some different cash and carries.
Yeah.
But I was also then trying to sell to other traders who were selling luggage.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it?
It wasn't easy.
Very low profit luggage, very, very high volume, and you can't get many in the back of your car.
And seasonal as well.
Oh, very, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's a massive industry now, but everything evolves. So when you were dealing in the markets, when you were dealing on in wholesale, when you're importing, when you're in the business world, you must have learnt some little life's lessons.
I think the biggest lesson, which I still use now, is when I worked in the markets, whatever I bought for £1, I would sell for £1.50.
Okay, that's a good marker.
Yeah. Yep. So that made me realise that every time I spent £1.50 in the shop in my own money, I would have to have sold 3 things at £1.50 to make that up.
Yeah.
So it stopped me wasting money, because I would always work out how much I would have to sell to earn that profit to buy what I wanted. Yeah. So when you're tripling the price of something all the time in your head, you don't spend as much money as you would have done.
And it's like when you cut the price.
Yes.
People don't realise that you're selling something for £1, you cut the price 20%.
Yeah.
But doesn't end there, because you're cutting right off your bottom line.
Yes.
That 20 pence.
Yeah. And all your expenses are still there.
Yeah.
And you're basically giving it away.
Yeah. So it's better to sell something different to get the margins. Yeah. I keep telling people all the time, profit is sanity and turnover is vanity.
Yes.
And people just get rid of stuff. They just it drives me mad all the time when I'm
I also learned how hard you work when you're self-employed.
Yeah.
And that you never clock off.
Yeah.
So you're working every minute of every day you're awake, because you might not be stood on that market stall, but you're thinking about what you need to buy, what's been your best seller this week, should I buy more of that, should I buy it in a different colour as well, will that increase my sales, can I afford that, what about the next seasonal thing coming up, do I need to restock my luggage because spring and summer's coming, I'm going to sell lots of suitcases, do I spend that money now? Or do I wait another month and I can invest it? You never switch off.
No, you don't.
And that's what most people don't understand. And most of my friends used to say to me, you're so lucky being self-employed, you don't have a boss. And I'd say to them, every customer in front of me is my boss at that moment in time.
It's as if it's if they turn up, if you get any customers,
But they're all my bosses. I'm pandering to all of them.
Yeah.
For me to sell something to them.
Yeah.
So the myth that when you're self-employed you don't have a boss just makes me giggle sometimes, because
you don't have security either, doesn't it?
No paid holidays.
No.
You're sick, you don't get paid.
No.
Your income starts going down, and
you're watching the weather forecast to see if you're going to have the customers come out. Yeah.
If it's going to be one of those cold winter rainy days and you stood there for 8 hours, you're lucky to have earned enough money to pay for your petrol and the rent of the stall.
Do you know, I stood a market once in Ingliston many years ago, up in the Highlands in Scotland, it's miles away. And I went on spec and I had a van load of gear. And I pitched up and there was like 20,000 people on the market. And it was just dead, absolutely dead. And it was a 3-day market. And I got to the end of the second day and I hadn't even taken enough to pay the rent. So I thought, I'm not going to enough now. So I managed to get away. Everything, it was spook. I don't know if they still own markets, but they let me go. And on the way back, I was running very short on fuel, and I was actually coasting behind big lorries to try and save fuel. It's mad what I did. And eventually I got to a service station. I had so little money on me, and I opened the back of the van, and I was selling bags to people walking past the van just to get money for petrol. And then I got home, and it's not always
I've got similar stories.
Give me one.
I remember once working on the markets, taking no money for weeks and weeks and weeks, being properly skint. And in the local newspaper or TV Times, there was one of these quiz things that if you fill it in, you've definitely won something.
Okay.
100%. You can win anywhere between 25 pence and £250,000.
Right.
Free postage. So I thought, I'll fill that in because it's going to cost me nothing. Filled it in, sent it off. And I won. And I won a cheque for 25 pence. Oh. And I cashed it and bought a loaf of bread.
Really?
Because at one point I was that skint that I wanted a loaf of bread, and I had no food in. Yeah. And I took it to the bank, paid it in, and took out the 25p and bought a cheap loaf of bread.
But you've got to keep going, don't you?
And you do.
You do.
And those hard times make you realise and appreciate the good times.
And I suppose in the world that you've now gone into, because I was going to say, what made you go into, I suppose it is politics, isn't it? But what made you come into politics?
It would have been December just gone. So I've been running a setup, and I run a charity now as well as running my own business. And I realised in December that things aren't getting any better. You know, we have people call it the woke lunacy, so freedom of speech is being clamped down.
I've heard of woke.
Yeah, so woke is like political correctness on steroids.
Okay. I don't...
So... You know what political correctness is?
Yeah.
So imagine
it's when people tell me to be quiet because it's not very PC.
Yes.
Yeah.
So imagine that just ramped up even more.
Right. Don't speak at all.
Yes. Basically, that's being woke. Is you've got the wrong opinions.
Yeah.
Or you're the wrong colour. You're white.
Yeah.
We don't need to listen to you.
I had a nice tan a few months ago.
You'd have got away with it then, but not now.
No, I've gone all white and washy.
So I decided that we need, especially for Greater Manchester, our police force now is in special measures. We've got child rape going unreported. We've got people living on the streets still. 10 years now of people living on the streets in Greater Manchester, and we seem to be helpless about how we get them off the streets into a better life.
This.
I've run homeless projects.
Yes.
So I know what needs to be done. What was your homeless project?
What was that?
So at the moment, well, not now because of COVID, but the last project we were running was around getting rough sleepers employment on construction sites.
Okay.
So it's about saying you're not a victim.
Yeah.
We're not going to wrap you in cotton wool.
Yeah.
But here's a way you can get a job, earn your own money, and be a person.
Right.
You don't have to worry about what food someone's going to give you because you've got money now. You can go out and buy what you want to buy.
So you actually found people proper jobs?
Proper jobs on building sites, paid jobs.
Right.
Some part-time,
yeah.
A couple full-time, labouring, cleaning, but fully paid jobs.
And training.
Training, yep.
You put that all in.
Yeah.
Well, that's in my opinion the real route to getting people, well, some people anyway, off the streets.
People, off the streets. Is employment. Yeah. You can't just take someone off the streets, put them into a B&B or a one-bedroom flat somewhere and say, you're done now, mate.
Well, I've never been a great believer in charity from that point of view. Obviously, you see people, your heart goes out to them. But I've always felt that it's better to teach people how to fish.
Yes.
I've always believed that. You might do yourself out of a customer because then you can't sell them a fish. But I've often found that's...
People need agree with you. A leg up.
Yeah,
not a handout.
No. And it's good for local business as well because they have more customers coming into them. But you get elected for mayor.
Yep.
You get into that role. I can see that you're a passionate gentleman. I can see that you're actually doing this because you believe in it.
Yeah.
It's not a power thing. It's you believe you can make a change. How are you? And I know because you've just been on an interview with our Hayden for Trigger Warning, and I know you were talking about all the good you can do with helping reform the police, and I think you would do it, and getting people off the streets and various other things. But what's going to be the main effect for local businesses? How are they going to benefit from your policies?
For me, the businesses now, especially after COVID, have to be one of our priorities. Yeah. If we're going to bring back the spending, the tax income, and then we need to put something under businesses to support them. Yeah. Again, as Mayor of Greater Manchester, we only have limited power, so we're not the national government. My stance, my gut feeling has always been for business. We need to remove as much government out of business as we possibly can. As long as businesses are running safely and are paying, the right wages and, are not polluting, then government should have very little say on what those businesses do and how they run. Yeah. We need to leave businesses and the wealth creators alone, so they can create the jobs and create the wealth and create the society that we need. So that's my big plan, is what can I do as mayor to remove the barriers, the form filling, the box ticking rubbish.
There is so much of that.
We need to get rid of as much of that as we possibly can, that the mayor is allowed to do.
And when small businesses do well, it extends into everything. It mushrooms into everywhere else.
Yes.
It really does. I mean, I see it all the time when we have clients. They start doing a little bit better. It's more staff, more shops. They tend to be that much more entrepreneurial, and they grow that much bigger. And they sort of grow outwards. They just don't grow in a certain direction, especially in the younger.
And we need that for the high street. Our high streets are dying everywhere.
Yeah.
And unless we can get people and make it easier for them to set up their own businesses and take a chance, because it's not us, it's not government taking the chance, it's that individual who's putting their life savings and getting a bank loan. They're the ones taking the chance.
Well, there's another thing that people don't realise, that with this smaller business, it's not banks' money, it's not other people's money.
It's their money.
It's not investors, it's them, it's their money, it's their hard graft. And quite often, even extended from that, they often don't realise that the owner of a business might have a second job, or the partner might have a second job, and that's also subsidising. So there's a lot more commitment in small business.
Absolutely.
And at the very least, we shouldn't put any barriers in their way.
We should be removing barriers so they have the best chance of being successful.
At the very least,
But some things we can do as mayor is, you probably know about the clean air zone coming in.
I've heard of that.
So the clean air zone is basically a new congestion charge for Greater Manchester.
We need that.
But
we need more charges to come into Manchester.
They're framing it as a clean air zone. So you can still drive in Greater Manchester, but we'll charge you every day you do it. To begin with, it's only for commercial vehicles.
Right.
But once that works for commercial vehicles, I'm adamant they then will move the goalposts and go, it's now going to be for all cars as well.
Yeah, and they could do something about parking as well.
Yeah, so we're coming out of COVID. Businesses have been absolutely battered. And the first thing we're going to do is say, now you need to pay for your commercial vehicles.
So where will that be?
The whole of Greater Manchester.
The whole, so you go to Cheetham Hill precinct, or you go into Bury or somewhere, and it's the same.
And depending on the size of your vehicle and how clean it is, the charge will be anywhere between £7.50 a day to £60 a day.
But what if you go to the Trafford Centre or big places like that?
It's any commercial vehicle that falls into their category will be charged.
But it will extend to everybody. So again,
they saying it won't, but they're not going to spend £500 million on cameras.
No.
To cover the whole of Greater Manchester.
Just for,
and say we're not eventually going.
We'll look at London.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's not going to go. But the thing to me is, it stops people going to these places. It stops people coming and going anywhere.
It adds an extra cost onto those businesses, because now whatever they're ordering and buying, there's now going to be a congestion charge put on top of that, because how else is that company going?
Well, it's the hassle as well.
Yeah, they're going to have to pass it on. These new, the entrepreneurs who may want to buy a white van and start doing delivery or set his own business up, all of a sudden there's an extra cost every day for him that he's going to have to pay a congestion charge. And if you don't know it exists and you drive in, you're then going to get a £100 fine in the post. And do you know exactly where Greater Manchester starts and finishes?
No. I don't know where my street starts and finishes.
Exactly. So I mean, all of a sudden you're going to get £100 fines all the time.
It's
so
mad.
that's going to be stopped. I'll be trying to stop that on day one. The clean air zone. Anything that stops businesses developing, we'll be looking at that. And what I'd like to do as well is, especially for schools and colleges, we need to be teaching more young people about how to set businesses up, how to be an entrepreneur. I didn't go to university. I didn't need to go to university. And we've got 50% of kids now going to universities. Most of them are in 50 grand's worth of debt, which they'll never pay back. And their degree is worthless. If you get a 2-2 in media studies, there's no point going.
But even in bookkeeping, people are clueless. Some kids, not just kids, they don't know how to manage bank accounts. They've got no idea of money. It's no wonder so many people get into debt. They seem to be unaware of numbers. So if people say, well, it's a 14% APR, well, what does that mean? You know, but they might know it's what it stands for. But it's so easy getting debt when you're not thinking in money. You go and you pay £1 for something, but by the time you finish paying the interest off, you could have paid £3 for it. So it's all these little things are very, very. You've got to be very careful. You know, I know with a lot of taxes, a lot of benefits, they make such a big fuss over. Well, you get 0.7% return, or you get 1.5%, but really it adds pennies to the reliefs you're getting.
Yeah.
So, if businesses concentrate, are allowed to concentrate on the things that actually make money without just ripping people off and putting prices up, which is what often happens when companies are pressured.
Yeah.
But when they can actually get value out of the products that they sell and get rewarded for it without having to worry about all this red tape and all the restrictions, then it's a great way to live. Businesses do better, and if they're doing better, then they will pay more in the taxes that they already pay anyway,
Yes.
and therefore we don't need things like a subscription to get into the city centre, because that's where it'll go as well, or £5 every time you go in, or £10 every time you go in. So the companies, it might even be reflected in rent because there's a bigger footfall, so things do better. So yeah, I think I might just vote for you on
the business people I've spoken to about my campaign at Christmas, and I was saying to them, if I became mayor, which is a slim thing, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not
it's worth having a
crazy.
go.
It's worth having a go. But if I did become mayor, what would you want me to do to help you in your businesses? And nearly all of them said to me, I want you to keep out of my business. That's how you help me.
I'd like you to come into mine so you spend.
Yes.
No.
But
Okay, that's interesting.
government cannot help you with your business.
No.
Only you can help you with
The
your
government
business.
can give you an infrastructure.
Yes,
to
they need to
work
build the
from.
surroundings.
Yeah.
They need to make sure the infrastructure, the roads, customers can get to you,
Yeah.
that there's decent broadband so
Yeah.
people can shop online
Oh,
with
absolutely,
you.
yeah.
Or that the broadband's great so you can pay your taxes online to make it easy for you, because then you don't have to go somewhere
and
else.
you don't feel the taxes are unfair.
Yes.
Because on the one hand, you're not struggling to pay your rent and pay the staff, and so your VAT and let alone taxes on profits are just not even around. But just come away from that, because if you don't get to be mayor, you're involved with another party, aren't you?
Reform used to be called the Brexit Party,
Yeah, okay.
but now Brexit is over and done.
Right.
They've renamed themselves and reconfigured themselves, and they're now about trying to reform government.
Right.
And that's exactly what we've been talking about.
Right.
So at the moment, it's about looking at the tax code, which is too big and too cumbersome, and it's about we need to get rid of that, and we need to create a nice, simple tax code.
Well, what would us accountants do?
Well, part of it will, some accountants will go out of business.
They won't. There's plenty more to do than just. In fact, tax work it's the least of the things we have to look at, because it's fairly well structured. And obviously, I won't get into that. If anyone does have individual tax issues, they can always call me on that. So,
But if we make the tax system easier, that means more people can start businesses, because they don't have to worry about, I need an accountant, I don't understand these things. If things are simple, it helps everybody.
Yeah.
But they want to reform more than just a tax system. It's about the way we're governed, the governance. It's about having a better say. An example would be the people of Greater Manchester voted against having a mayor 12 years ago.
right.
But we've got a mayor now. So what was the point of asking us?
They probably saw him coming.
Yeah. But what's the point of asking us
Yeah.
if you're going to give us one anyway?
Yeah.
And it's about, we either have a democracy or we don't have a democracy.
Yeah.
So don't treat us as stupid. Ask us, get the wrong answer, and then do what you're going to do anyway. And we need to get away from that.
So being in this new party, what would your role in that be? What are you hoping to achieve there?
In the party itself?
Yeah.
It's still brand new. So at the moment...
See how it goes.
See how it goes.
Right.
But I'm hoping to influence the way it goes and policies.
Yeah.
I'm an expert in homelessness. I'm an expert in crime and disorder and antisocial behaviour. So they're my fields that I've spent 2 decades in.
So we know who to vote for and we know who to contact.
Yes.
'Cause that's where I'll be going.
Yeah.
So you'll all see at the bottom of the screen coming up Nick's contact details. So feel free to contact Nick direct for any further information that you want. And if you're too shy, you can contact me and say, what was everyone talking about? And we can have a chat that way. But thank you, Nick, for joining me today. It's been an honour. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I'll see you on the next podcast. Have a good week. Bye-bye.